Well, joining me now from Tel Aviv is Douglas Murray, the Associate Editor of The Spectator, the co-founder of the Muslim Debate Initiative, Abdullah Al-Andalusi, and Dr. Izzeldin Abuleish, the Canadian-Palestinian medical doctor, who's joined me again in the studio. And great to see you. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. Let me start with you, if I may, Dr. Abuleish. When you saw that interview, what was your response to the fact that it's an NHS doctor working and living in this country who was saying those things?
It's important. I am coming, I heard it. I heard many of your interviews. Jihad, the word jihad. My presence here is jihad. When I'm coming to meet with you to advocate for my Palestinian people and for saving lives of the people is jihad. And this is the highest level of jihad. The resistance against someone who is invading you, this is the lowest level of jihad. But jihad, when I am traveling, when I am going to any place, even someone who is dying because of far away from his home is a kind of jihad. When we are fasting, when we are walking, walk is a jihad. And that's the most important. We need to understand it, not to take it out of the context in the limited understanding of it. When I am invaded with a disease, COVID, what do? I have to resist the COVID. And that's when we face cancer disease, any cancer.
With respect, you would not categorize October the 7th as a resistance.
It's, I condemned the killing of any innocent human being. And for me, I was born, my daughters were killed before October 7th.
Yes, I know.
I was born as a Palestinian refugee before October 7th. My parents were refugees before 48. Yes. They were born in Palestine. So the history didn't start. The world is not created October 7th. That's what we need. And we are today.
But I don't
it's important. But let me continue.
I don't think anyone who
continue, please.
Right.
Today is the 12th of December. Today is the 12th of December, where we have more than 23 Palestinians, 1,000 are killed. More than 45,000 are severely wounded. Even the damage in the Gaza Strip, as Borrell, the representative of Foreign Affairs in the European Union, it's far beyond the damage in Germany for 6 years. In 2 months, more than that. So even, how
that's not true, actually.
Why?
No, there was far more.
He said that.
Who said that?
Borrell, the representative of the European Union, the Foreign Affairs.
Yeah, but far more people died in World War II than have died in this war.
The
structural damage,
the destruction.
Well, there certainly would have been more damage in Germany in World War II.
He mentioned that himself.
Well, that won't be factually accurate. But here's my question, though, for you. It all comes back to me. I'm very happy to platform anybody on this show, right to the point where they try and convince me that what happened on October the 7th was not an act of terror. And when people refuse to concede that point, I find it very hard then to have a civilized discussion. It's why I got so annoyed last night.
Well, can we? So, if I consider the killing of my daughters as terrorist?
Well, I think it was appalling, and I think
do you consider it as terrorist?
I do not consider Israel to be a terrorist organization.
The killing of my daughters?
I think here's a question we have to ask ourselves, which is, since you have defended Israel's operation in Gaza as self-defense.
Don't misquote me. I've defended.
So you don't say it's part of their self-defense?
No, let me clarify.
Okay.
I've defended Israel's right to defend itself, right?
Right.
In fact, they have a duty to its civilians after Hamas's repeated threats since October the 7th to repeat it, to defend the civilians.
So is the war in Gaza not self-defense, or is it according
let me just clarify my position so you know, right?
Yeah.
However, I have repeatedly questioned the proportionality of Israel's response, as indeed their greatest allies,
but not the response itself.
Doing.
But not the response itself, though.
I think they're perfectly entitled to go and take out Hamas.
So may I continue my question then?
Yes.
Ask you. So since you have justified their response, maybe not how they've carried it out exactly, but you justify their response as self-defense.
Their right to defend themselves by taking out the terrorists who committed that atrocity, yes.
Okay. And presumably you refuse to call Israel, and you have refused when you've been asked to call Israel a terrorist organization, government, or the idea for terrorist organization.
Well, the difference is here we are. Well, hang on. In London.
No. Let me finish my question, Piers. I have a question for you.
I must clarify.
Let me finish my question.
You're making some statements that are a bit misleading.
Sure.
This country considers Hamas to be a prescribed terror group. They do not consider Israel to be a terrorist organisation, and nor do I. So that's the position.
But
I'm not asking you.
The United States consider
I'm not
PLO.
I'm not asking the British government. I'm asking you, Piers.
I don't think
the British government isn't here.
I do not think they're a terrorist organisation.
Now let me finish my question, if I can ask the question as well, right, for us to discuss. So considering that you have justified the operation that Israel initiated as self-defense, and that you refuse to call Israel a terrorist organization or a terrorist government, despite the fact that almost as many Palestinians, Gazans have died under Israel's precision bombing, then as Londoners have died during the whole year of the Blitz under German bombing, which wasn't precision bombing, and yet you still say that, well, Israel isn't a terrorist organization. I think the question we should be asking is, should you be suspended? Is it responsible to have a person with your views speaking to the public when you clearly refuse to condemn that which needs to be condemned, which was worse than the London Blitz? Those that condemn
perfectly reasonable
with precision weapons, and the Germans didn't even have precision weapons.
Perfectly reasonable question.
Yes.
And you've asked me it on my show.
Yes.
The fact you're here and able to ask that, I think, is evidence that I'm prepared to listen to people who will look me in the eye and ask me difficult questions.
Well, you didn't know I was going to say that, but anyway, yes.
That's fine, but that's fine. You're perfectly entitled to it.
Yeah.
We believe in uncensored free speech here.
Yeah.
But let me ask you the question then, which I asked.
You're not answering my question, but you haven't answered it.
Well, I have. I said I don't think they're a terrorist organisation.
Despite the fact that they've killed almost as many
you've asked me a question.
as Germans
you've
did
asked me a question.
when they bombed London under the Blitz for 1 year with non-precision bombs.
I have given you an unequivocal answer. Now let me ask you if you can give me one.
Yes.
Do you believe Hamas are a terror organisation?
Okay, and I'd like to ask you, what does that mean?
Just answer my question.
Well, I need clarification.
Well, this country has prescribed them as a terror group. Do you think they are?
Are you the British government?
No, I'm asking you what you think.
Okay, so I want a clarification.
I gave you a simple, straight answer.
What does it mean?
No, you tell me.
I don't know. You're asking me a question. You asked the question.
You don't think they are a terror group?
No, I want your definition of what is a terror group?
An act that commits acts of terror. A group that commits terror attacks, as they did on October the 7th.
So one that commits terror attack. All right, fine. So define terror.
Do you want to answer the question or not?
I do, but I just want clarification.
No. We all know what terrorism is.
Please, no. We're going to go somewhere with this. We're going to go somewhere with this, right?
Well, are you going to answer the question?
Yes. Once I get your definition, what's a terror attack?
The definition is as is laid down in international law.
Which
is?
It's
committing an act of terror.
Which is?
Which is terrorism.
Are you asking questions you don't know the definition of?
Well, why don't you tell me what you think it is?
I don't know. You're asking the question.
You've no idea what terrorism is.
No, I want you to answer your question.
I would say massacring 1,200 people on October the 7th in the way Hamas did is an act of terror. Do you agree?
So killing civilians is an act of terror?
No, that's not what I said.
So then killing civilians is not an act of terror?
On that scale is terrorism.
So killing civilians is not an act of terror?
You're not going to answer. Let me bring
I want your definition.
No.
I want you to be consistent.
We have a third guest.
No, but I want to say something.
All right.
United States recognize PLO as a terrorist and it negotiates with PLO. This is one thing. The second, October 7 happened and many things happened after. Are we here just stuck there as a snapshot and to discuss it, or we want to discuss what after and what can be done in a positive way? That's the most important.
I think they're all important issues, but right now, because of what happened and the fallout from last night's show, I specifically want to discuss the definition of terrorism, Hamas, and whether a British
But Hamas is not the Palestinian people.
Hang on.
But we haven't that definition yet.
I'm going to bring in I'm going to bring in Douglas Murray. You're just sitting patiently here. Douglas, first of all, what was your reaction to this interview with an NHS doctor last night on this show?
Well, let me first of all say that it's necessary to clear quite a lot of things up because we've heard quite a lot of hogwash in the last few minutes. Firstly, your guest last night is a member of an extremist organization, Hizb ut-Tahrir, which is banned in many countries, including in European countries. And it's also banned in many Muslim countries. It's banned in Pakistan, it's banned in Egypt, and that's because these Muslim governments recognize that it is an extremist group that has a revolutionary ideology that wants to replace government in Muslim countries as well as in... Do you know... Germany.
One European country is banned in Douglas Murray. I'm not going to let you lie to the audience like you usually do. You're going to justify everything you say on this show, Douglas Murray. Right? So please, give me one country.
Germany.
It's not banned in Germany.
I just said
it's not banned in Germany.
You're
Check it.
not listening. You're
Check
not
it.
listening. You're not listening.
To the audience. Google it for yourself. Hizb in Germany,
really
are they banned as
weird.
an organisation?
Is this Mr. Al-Andalusi? Can I just check? 'Cause I
Yes,
can't see you.
it is, yeah.
Is that him?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a guy, he's of no significance, but he's a guy who I have seen in studios for years, spouting extreme Islamist rhetoric. Many years ago, he couldn't condemn the killing of the journalists at Charlie Hebdo. Last year, he wouldn't condemn the attempted murder of
condemn.
Salman Rushdie.
What-
Now he
what
can't do
slander?
this. He
This is
fails every single
Murray is
test.
filled full
But
of
let me get
slander.
on to the question.
Slander
Look,
and lies.
I'm not going
Prove
to
it.
engage. I'm
Prove-
not going to
prove your lies.
engage
Let him
in a
speak,
bun
please.
fight with this Islamist. Let me answer the question that Piers put to me before you try to interrupt again.
Only if you don't lie.
Let him
Right.
answer, please.
I appreciate
First
that
of
doesn't mean
all,
you
Let him
can't say
answer,
much,
please.
But all right.
First of all, I'm not going to keep being talked over by this Islamist blowhard. Let me speak. First of all, your first guest treated us to the first bit of mouthwash this evening by claiming that the word jihad can mean absolutely anything. Nonsense. When a big bearded member of Hizb ut-Tahrir calls for jihad on the streets of London, then they are not calling for an interpersonal struggle with the nature of the divine. They are calling for violence. And anyone who can't recognise that should be questioned about their own motives. Secondly, we've just been treated to a monologue about casualty figures in Gaza. Where do these figures come from? I'll tell you where they come from. They come from Hamas. It's quite remarkable
This
to
is
me
a lie.
that 2 months after the October the 7th massacre, the Israelis still don't know the precise number of people murdered on October the 7th. There's a reason for that, because
It's
it
from the
takes
United
time
Nations,
to work out
from the
massacres of
UNRWA.
that scale.
The numbers are accredited and valid.
I just don't know if either of your guests are going to allow me a word in.
Because you are lying,
One of the
and
striking
even the numbers
things
from
about
Israel, from the IDF, which are not accredited.
No. You will,
These are your
it's really
numbers.
interesting hearing somebody who presents themselves as a moderate being a spokesperson for Hamas. So let me continue.
quite
They
long
are
monologue
Hamas
you've got there,
figures.
Douglas.
They are all provided by the ministries of Hamas, which is a prescribed terrorist organization. If you want to reel off Hamas figures, then be my guest, but you are not able to mislead the viewers of Piers' show by quoting Hamas figures at his viewers as if they are
I
holy
am not
writ.
quoting.
Third,
It's the Euromed.
we've been treated to
It's
this
the
nonsense.
United Nations.
We've been treated.
It's the international community organizations.
Where do you
You have
think
to
they
open
get
your
the figures
eyes.
from?
I
Where do you
heard
think
you,
they
and
get the
all of
figures
what
from?
you say is
Thirdly, I will continue to speak if it kills you. Thirdly, World War II. It is nonsense that what has been happening in Gaza has, as you said in this endless list of fallacies, that there has been more bombing in Gaza, more deaths and destruction in Gaza than during World War II. Do you
No, I
know
didn't say
anything
anything.
about
Almost.
World War II?
Almost,
Do you know
I said.
anything about World War II?
I
in
said almost.
Dresden
Yes, I do,
alone,
Douglas.
in
Germany.
Dresden
Do you
alone,
know anything
Germany.
in
about World War
Dresden
II,
alone,
Douglas?
take one
Well-
German city. Take one German city. The destruction was on a scale totally dissimilar
taking
to what's
London.
been happening in
that.
Gaza.
I'm
And
taking
you know,
London.
in
very,
response
very
to what you
interested.
said, the
I'm
number
very
of the
interested, and I
Palestinians killed
will
in
once
Gaza,
again, I
in
will finish this
comparison,
point,
proportionate
even
to
if
what
both
is in
of
the
these
state.
All right,
blowhards
let me
keep
ask
trying to
Douglas
talk
one question.
over
No,
me.
no, it's
I
important
will
because he
finish the
mentioned it
point
in one
I
of his
wanted to
interviews
make.
Okay, I'm
with
going to
you.
come back to you both. Let me
finish
ask
the
Douglas
point
one question.
I wanted to make
Douglas,
because it's
specifically
important
about
for
the
your viewers.
doctor, Douglas.
It is very important for your viewers to
Yeah.
hear the following definition. The definition of terrorism is the deliberate targeting of innocent civilians. That is what Hamas specializes in. That is what Hamas did
And that's
on
what is
October
happening
the 7th.
in Gaza
Now,
also.
Is what Israel is doing terrorism? No, for the following reason. And again, you can lie about this if you want, but do not expect not to be challenged about it. What the IDF is doing is the same manner of war as the British Army, the American Army, and all other armies in the civilized world. They target terrorists like Hamas, and there are civilian casualties. Yes, there are. But it is not the aim of the IDF any more than it is of the British or American armies to target civilians. And anyone who pretends otherwise is lying to the public watching.
All right, Douglas, final question before I go back to the two in the studio here. And it's specifically about the doctor that was on last night, whether he should be allowed to continue practicing as a GP, when he identifies Hamas as a resistance group, wouldn't say that it committed an act of terror. Said he didn't even believe that there had been a massacre, and was also quite blatantly homophobic, amongst other things. Well, he didn't actually. Douglas,
but not Douglas.
Let
me ask Douglas.
Said if.
No,
Douglas,
please.
Let me ask Douglas.
The medical association.
I'm asking
the
Douglas.
medical association.
I will come both to.
The medical association is the one who is assigned to.
Fine. I'm asking Douglas what his view is.
Douglas. He's not a medical doctor.
I'm asking Douglas's opinion. Douglas.
Well, you don't seem to be much of an impartial observer of this, I have to say myself. I thought slightly highly of you before you started ranting as much as Mr. Al-Andalusi this evening. I'll tell you what I thought of it, Piers. I think our country has had enough of people like your guest last night. It's not just that he's in the NHS. Why is he in Britain? Why do we allow people in Britain to try to overthrow the state, who praise terrorism, members of extremist organizations? What has Britain got from this guy exactly? What benefit have we got from him? I mean, I wouldn't want to be an NHS patient going to him. I don't know if any Jews would particularly want to in Britain. I don't know if very many innocent people would want to go to this doctor. But my question is not just should he be able to practice. I want to know why our country of Britain has been such a soft touch for decades that we have Hamas leaders, terrorist spokespeople, Islamist sympathizers like your guest, Mr. Al-Andalusi, and now NHS doctors who are members of groups like Hizb ut-Tahrir that stand on the streets of London, call for jihad, call for Muslim armies to arise. I don't think our country benefits anything from these people. I think people like that should leave. We have no need of them.
Douglas Murray, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I appreciate it. Let's come back to you gentlemen to wrap this up. Let me start with you, Dr. Abuleish. Look, passions run high here on both sides. I get that. But there have to be certain points of agreement, don't there? And one of the things that I find very hard to deal with, like I said at the start of this debate, is when people simply won't accept what we all saw with our own eyes because Hamas put it out on their own videos, through their own social media platforms. What happened on October the 7th was a terror attack. Can we not agree that?
I am coming here as a Palestinian.
Yes.
I am not belonging to any faction, and Hamas is not representing the Palestinian people. We have to understand it. It's part of the Palestinian people. It was elected with a free democratic election in 2006. Since that time, we don't have any election. We look forward to have election, and we have to respect the election of the people and the choice of the people. If you in UK tomorrow to elect any right fanatic group, what do you think the other people will say to you? If they said no, they are terrorists or they are not accepted, they are part of the Palestinian people. Whether we accept or not, we need to have a new leadership, to have a new election, and then it's our choice to do it. What is happening? As I said it clearly, before October 7, after October 7 will never lead to any positive way. It only aggravates bloodshed, more animosity, more pain, more suffering, and more extremism.
I think you may be right. And this has been my concern about the, in my view, increasingly disproportionate response by Israel, is it may have the opposite effect of what they want. It may actually lead to more radicalism. Destroying most of Gaza seems to be what the mission statement is now. I don't see how that helps the situation at all. But I do understand why they want to try and eliminate Hamas. And that's the conundrum.
Well, I'd like to clarify firstly, Islamic law very clearly says, and there's no difference of opinion on this for 1,300 years or even more, that it is impermissible in whatever situation to target women, children, elderly, non-combatants or those not reservists in an army. So even the Hamas fighters, which were interviewed on Israeli TV, the broadcast was interviewed, their interview, they said the same thing, that it is prohibited. The issue of October the 7th is that there's a big question mark regarding what exactly happened. I completely accept, let me finish, what do I mean by this? I completely accept that there was, Israelis were killed who were not combatants. It is reprehensible in Islamic law. And likewise, it's reprehensible that non-combatants on the Palestinian side are killed, like, for example, an 8-year-old Mohammed El-Ghul and others in West Bank who were shot by an Israeli soldier. But my point is this, right? And here's the issue, which is Michael Clark, who advises, you might see him on Sky News talking about Ukraine war. He's a military advisor on Channel and also Channel 4. He said that Hamas, the operation, they actually lost control of the operation and it turned into a spontaneous terror attack. I'm quoting him verbatim.
I don't believe a word of that.
Well, but this is what he says as an expert.
I'm giving you my opinion.
I know. Well, I'm giving you an expert opinion.
It was clearly planned,
by Michael
orchestrated.
Clark. Well,
and then they gleefully boasted about it.
They didn't.
They did.
Where? Where did Hamas? Do you know that quotation?
You see no Hamas people that day gloating about it? Are you watching the videos?
Yes, I did. Did you watch that Hamas spokesman? You quoted that Hamas spokesman on TV.
Yeah.
Did you see what he said about the attack? He said that there was no order to target civilians. What many people...
we know they did.
A general consensus of analysts have shown that there was looters that came out of Gaza who were not part of Hamas.
So my simple question...
It's criminal.
My simple question is this. Was it a terror attack?
Anyone who killed civilians, should be condemned and reprehensible. Anyone who kills civilians is a criminal act.
Was it a terror attack?
What?
October the 7th.
And when I asked you, you said, what defines a terror attack is that you target civilians, right?
You've had the definition from Douglas.
Yes, okay, you target civilians, right? So then I want to ask, I'll answer that question.
No, just answer
I want to ask that question, but I just for sake of consistency, when the British Army targeted German civilians in World War II, was that a terror attack?
No, because they were responding to Nazi Germany's attempt to destroy the world.
So you're saying
you don't understand the moral difference.
So you're saying that because of who they were fighting, it's not a terror attack to target civilians. Is that what you're saying?
We have to wrap this up. I'm asking,
because I only want consistency from you.
I'm saying there's no moral equivalence between us defending ourselves against Nazi Germany, who committed a Holocaust that killed, in fact, they killed 12 million people.
Did Britain launch war on Germany because of the Jews?
Huh?
Did Britain declare war on Germany for the sake of Jews?
Britain declared war on Germany.
Did Winston Churchill, in his ultimatum to Hitler, did he say, stop persecuting Jews? Do you know why? Because at that time, anti-Semitism was so rife that people didn't care about the plight of the Jews. It was only afterwards, after they discovered the death camps and so on and so forth. Don't pretend that the Allies launched this war for the sake of Jews.
I didn't say that.
Anti-Semitism
we only discovered the full horror
then.
of the concentration camps towards the end of the war.
We
did it to save our democracy and freedom.
And
the idea there's any moral equivalence.
What are the Palestinians doing?
Listen, the idea is any moral equivalence is ridiculous. But let me come back one more time before we finish to my simple question. Was what happened on October the 7th a terror attack?
And I'm telling you that if you refuse to call the bombing of Dresden as a terror attack, then why?
I've got to leave it there.
Is that not hypocritical? I'm totally fine to call it a terror attack if you're willing to call it a terror attack too.
Listen,
let's join each other in condemning both things, including the IDF as what they're doing as a terror attack.
I do not believe IDF.
Then that's
is a
being
terror
hypocritical.
Attack. No,
that's being hypocritical.
Okay, that's your view.
I'm happy to condemn all this as a terror attack.
Yeah, you're not though, are you?
You have to be consistent, Piers Morgan.
Final word to you.
Please.
Final word.
You know, yesterday I was listening to the chief of Mossad and the chief of Shin Bet. And he said, it's because of the failure of diplomatic and political issues. This is important. And there was negligence. And what can we do now? And that's the most important as a medical doctor. We need to stop the bloodshed, to go to serious negotiations, to use it. What happened October 7 as an opportunity to bridge the gap between Palestinians and Israelis and not to repeat it again and again.
Doctor, I've got to end it there.
Thank you.
I don't
think you should fire people from their jobs because they have difference of opinion in England.
I don't think British GPs should be coming on national television in this country and breaking the law by publicly supporting and endorsing a terror group. Which is, by the way, it's a criminal offence to support a terror group in this country.
Yeah, of course.
He did that last night.
By what? When did he actually
saying they were resistance, not a terror group.
He was talking about.
He justified what they did.
He was talking about Palestinians in general.
Is a criminal.
He was talking about Palestinians in general.
He was talking about Hamas.
He was talking about Hamas.
You didn't watch the interview. Go back and watch it.
Well, leave it for the police to investigate.
He discussed the Palestinians. He broke the
Palestinians
law.
want equal rights throughout whole of Palestine.
You asked me why. That's why.
I've got to leave it there.
Again, thanks to Douglas Murray, to Dr. Abilesh. It's good to see you again. Thank you very much.
So much.
Abdullah Al-Andalusi, thank you very much for coming in. I appreciate